Player mesh. If you were to ask 10 random people who grew up playing games in the early 90s, probably something like 8 or 9 people would tell you the Super Nintendo had a better sounding game library than the Sega Genesis, or the Mega Drive as it's called outside of America. And if I'm being honest, I definitely agree with them that the Super Nintendo had a better sound overall. Games like Chrono Trigger, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, or Earthbound, and so many others are just a few of the highlights that illustrate how great the Super Nintendo sounded. Now, that being said, Sega's library also had an excellent selection of games with fantastic soundtracks. Games like Sonic the Hedgehog, Toe Jam and Earl, Phantasy Star, and Streets of Rage are just a few of the best-sounding games of the early 90s. And one genre of games I feel Sega definitely had an advantage over Nintendo in was the shmup genre, also known as shoot 'em up. The Genesis was loaded with numerous classic shmups that are still played to this day. They also tended to have great soundtracks with many songs that still get stuck in my head from time to time. With all this being said, here are 5 tracks from 5 different games I feel are some of the best in their genre. And now, as a side note, these tracks aren't really in any particular order. They're not meant to represent the greatest shmup tracks of all time, yada yada yada. They're just 5 tracks I really like. Full Metal Fighter from m.u.s.h.a. Honestly, pretty much any track could have made it onto this list, as the whole game's soundtrack is incredible. I just chose this one because I feel it provides a really strong opening sound to the first level. It does a great job at conveying the story's urgency to the player. The fast tempo and varied sounds make this one a real banger in my book. Venus Fire from Thunder Force 3. Man, this track is fantastic. The opening in particular sounds like a riff straight out of an 80s prog album. The track has multiple different sounding movements that help keep it from getting repetitive throughout. I also really like how there's a consistent tempo throughout most of the track. Just like m.u.s.h.a, this whole game's soundtrack is fantastic, and there's a number of other tracks I could have easily substituted for this one. Stage 2 and 3 from Biohazard Battle. I think one of the reasons I like this track so much is because of the heavy use of drum beats throughout. I also feel like it's more upbeat sounding than some of the other tracks in this game, for better or worse. While it doesn't have the more tribal-like sound that some of the other tracks had, I still really enjoy this track and think it's probably the best in the game. Also, as a completely random side note, I have to say I really like how the audio visually looks here in Audacity. Introduction from Zero Wing. Most people probably know this track from the All Your Bass Are Belong to Us meme from the early 2000s.
How are you, gentlemen? All your bass are belong to us.
If you look past the memes, however, you end up with a legitimately excellent opening track to one of the Genesis's most infamous shmups. The ominous beginning of the track really makes Katz, the main villain, appear menacing. The track then transitions into a more upbeat, hopeful sound as the captain launches your ship for great justice. It's too bad the English translation really dampens the effect the track provides, as the way the scene is set up is otherwise legitimately really well done. Oh well, at least we got a dank meme from it all.
All your bass, all your bass are belong to us.
Metal Squad from Thunder Force 4/Lightning Force. Thunder Force 4, or its lame-sounding title Lightning Force, as it was titled here in the States, is arguably the best shmup on the entire Sega Genesis platform in my opinion. Every aspect of this game is incredible, and this definitely expands the music. In fact, a particular metal cover of this track was the inspiration for this video. Wow, that cover never ceases to blow me away. Anyway, the original track is also excellent. It's basically a classic heavy metal track in 16-bit form. It's got that heavy guitar sound with some killer sounding riffs throughout. The drum beats are more subtle than in some of the prior tracks I picked, but this serves to emphasize the guitar sound more, so it definitely works in the track's favor. All in all, this is one of the best tracks and one of the best shmups on the system. Alright, all done. I hope you enjoyed my choices. Naturally, I wasn't able to include everything, or else this video would go on for hours. Regardless, I encourage you to comment with any thoughts, criticisms, or any ideas for future videos you might have in the comments below. Also, like everyone and their grandma says, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Thanks for watching to the end, and I hope you continue to watch and enjoy the videos we upload.